Have you ever been in a meeting where you just knew that a decision was based on a mistake, but saying something felt like walking on a tightrope over a pit of fire? You don't want to embarrass your boss or make your coworker defensive, but letting a mistake slide could lead to bigger problems. It's a tough spot, right? Well, what if I told you there are psychological techniques you can use to navigate this exact situation, making it easy and natural for others to acknowledge their mistakes without any conflict? Stick around, because today we're diving into the art of getting people to admit they were wrong gracefully. First, let's understand why it's so hard for people to say, "I made a mistake." It's not just about pride. Our brains are wired to protect our ego. Admitting a mistake can feel like a threat to our competence, our social standing, and even our identity. This is known as cognitive dissonance, the mental discomfort we feel when our actions don't align with our beliefs about ourselves, like "I'm a smart, capable person." So, when we make a mistake, our brain's first instinct is to justify it or blame something else, just to resolve that uncomfortable feeling. Your goal isn't to win an argument. It's to reduce their cognitive dissonance so they can see the mistake clearly. The first and most powerful technique is what I call the collaborative reframe. Instead of pointing a finger and saying, "You made an error on this report," you reframe the situation as a shared challenge. Try something like, "Hey, I was looking over the project numbers, and I'm a bit confused about this section. I think we might have missed something. Could we take a look at it together?" Notice the language. "I'm confused. We might have missed something. Let's look at it together." You're not accusing. You're inviting collaboration. You're positioning yourself as a partner in problem solving, not an opponent in a blame game. This immediately lowers their defenses because you're not threatening their competence. Instead, you're building a bridge. Next up is the hypothetical scenario technique. This one is brilliant for situations where the mistake hasn't caused a major issue yet, but you foresee it will. Instead of directly challenging their decision, you propose a hypothetical future. You could say, "This is a great starting point. I was just thinking, what if a client asks us about this specific data point? How would we explain the discrepancy with last quarter's report? Maybe we should double-check our source to be prepared." By framing it as a "what if," you're not saying their current work is wrong. You're showing foresight and a desire to be thorough. You're helping them see the potential consequences of the mistake on their own, guiding them to the conclusion without ever saying, "You're wrong." Now let's talk about the sandwich method, but with a twist for feedback. The classic sandwich is praise, criticism, praise. But for getting someone to admit a mistake, it's slightly different. You start by validating their effort or intention. Then you gently introduce the problem. Finally, you end with a solution-focused, forward-looking statement. For example, with a coworker, "I really appreciate how quickly you put together that presentation. The design looks amazing. I did notice a small typo on the statistics slide. Let's fix that real quick before we send it out to the client, so the whole thing is absolutely perfect." You acknowledge their good work first, which makes the correction feel like a tiny tweak rather than a major failure. The focus is on making the final product better, a shared goal. For a boss, the approach needs a little more finesse. Here, the seeking clarification technique is your best friend. Bosses are in a position of authority, and directly challenging them can be seen as insubordination. So you frame your concern as a quest for understanding. You might say, "I'm trying to fully understand the new workflow you outlined. Can you walk me through the part where the data is transferred to the sales team? I want to make sure I'm not missing a step because it seems different from our previous process." This gives your boss a non-confrontational opportunity to review their own logic. As they explain it, they might spot the error themselves, and if they do, they can correct it without losing face, perhaps by saying, "Good question. Actually, now that I'm walking through it, it makes more sense to do it this way." You gave them the space to be the one who finds the solution. Another powerful psychological principle at play here is face saving. No one likes to be embarrassed, especially in front of others. So whenever possible, have these conversations in private. A quiet one-on-one chat is far more effective than calling someone out in a group email or a team meeting. Publicly pointing out a mistake forces the person to either double down to save face or suffer public humiliation. Neither outcome is productive. By giving them the privacy to process the information and admit the error, you show respect, which builds trust and makes them more receptive to your feedback in the future. Let's also consider the common enemy approach. This involves framing the mistake not as an individual's fault, but as a problem caused by an external factor. This could be a confusing new software, a tight deadline, or an unclear instruction from a third party. For instance, you could say, "This new reporting system is so tricky. I noticed it calculated the totals in a weird way on this report. Let's figure out a workaround so it doesn't trip us up again." Here, the enemy is the system, not the person. You and your coworker are now on the same team, fighting against this external challenge. This unites you and directs the negative energy away from the individual, making it easy for them to agree that a mistake was made without taking it personally. Finally, always remember to focus on the future, not the past. The goal isn't to dwell on who was wrong. The goal is to fix the problem and move forward. Once the mistake is acknowledged, immediately shift the conversation to solutions. Ask questions like, "Great, now that we've spotted that, what's the best way to fix it?" Or, "How can we adjust our process to prevent this from happening again?" This shows that your intention was never to blame, but to improve. It reinforces that you're a team player who is invested in the collective success of the group. This positive, forward-looking attitude is contagious and helps maintain a healthy, productive work environment where people feel safe enough to be human and, yes, occasionally make mistakes. So, to recap, use the collaborative reframe to make it a team effort. Propose hypothetical scenarios to let them discover the mistake themselves. Use the feedback sandwich to soften the blow. Seek clarification, especially with your boss, to give them space. Always prioritize face-saving by having these conversations in private. And unite against a common enemy to remove personal blame. By mastering these techniques, you're not just getting a mistake corrected. You're building stronger, more trusting relationships with your colleagues and leaders. You're creating a culture where it's safe to be accountable, which is the foundation of any high-performing team. Thank you so much for watching. If you found these tips helpful, give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe for more insights into workplace psychology and communication. Let me know in the comments if you've ever used a technique like this, or if you have another one that works for you. I'd love to hear about it. See you in the next video.